I was sitting at the head of the table at my own 70th birthday dinner when my grandson walked past and muttered, "Can we just do the cake already? I've got plans." My son checked his watch and sighed. "Mom, you're not gonna give some long speech, are you?" They had no idea what I was about to say. My name is Grace Thompson. I'm 70 years old. I raised 3 kids mostly on my own after my husband passed 20 years ago. I worked as a seamstress for years, then picked up bookkeeping when my eyes started to go. It wasn't glamorous. The pay was modest. But I was proud. I was independent. And I always put my family first. I paid for college tuition, co-signed loans when the banks wouldn't take a chance on them, babysat grandkids every weekend so my daughter could go out with friends. I showed up. Every time. But over the years, I noticed something. The phone calls got shorter, the visits less frequent. Birthday cards stopped coming unless I reminded them the week before. I wasn't the fun grandma with a beach house or a luxury car. I didn't have money to throw around. But I thought love mattered more than that. I thought I mattered more than that. Lately, I'd been feeling invisible, like I was just another task on their to-do list. Visit Mom, check. But what they didn't know was that for the last few months, I'd been planning something. If you've ever been pushed aside by family, subscribe right now and tell me where you're watching from. Because what happened next changed everything. I'd planned my own 70th birthday party at a little Italian restaurant I loved. It wasn't fancy, but the owner knew me by name and the chicken piccata was perfect. I sent out invitations 3 weeks in advance. Everyone RSVP'd yes. The day of the party, I got there early, wore my nicest dress, had my hair done. And then I waited. They showed up 40 minutes late. My daughter Diane arrived first, dressed in yoga pants and a hoodie. My son Paul came in behind her, still on a work call. My grandson Tyler didn't even look up from his phone. No one said happy birthday. Diane immediately started taking photos, but only of herself and the grandkids. She posed them by the window, adjusted the lighting, laughed loudly with Tyler's girlfriend. I sat at the head of the table, alone. Paul finally hung up his call and looked around. "Mom, couldn't we have done somewhere nicer? This place is dated." "It's my favorite," I said quietly. He didn't hear me, or didn't care. Tyler asked the waiter, "Is there Wi-Fi here?" I tried to make a toast. I stood up, glass in hand, and said, "I just want to thank everyone for..." Diane cut me off. "Mom, wait. Let me get a better angle for the gram." I sat back down. The waiter brought out the small cake I'd ordered for myself. Vanilla with buttercream frosting. Simple. Sweet. Diane whispered to Paul, loud enough for half the table to hear. "She really spent money on this? She should be saving every penny at her age." My hands shook. I set down my fork. Then Paul pulled me aside, away from the table. His voice was low, almost concerned. "Mom, have you thought about the house?" "What about it?" "It's a lot for you to manage. We think it's time to talk about plans. Maybe move you into something smaller. Easier." I stared at him. "I'm not selling my house, Paul." "It's not about selling. It's about being smart." He glanced back at the table. "We just want what's best for you." I smiled quietly, though my chest felt tight. "Let's talk about that after I make my speech." He groaned but didn't argue. We sat back down. That's when things got worse. I'd pre-ordered my meal weeks ago. Chicken piccata, my favorite. The waiter came to confirm, and I nodded. But Diane stopped him. "Actually, she'll have the garden salad. Light dressing." I blinked. "Diane, I ordered the..." "Mom, you shouldn't be eating that much salt. It's not good for you." The waiter looked uncomfortable. He glanced at me. I said nothing. He brought me a salad. I picked at the lettuce while everyone else ate pasta, bread, chicken parmesan. No one noticed I wasn't eating, or if they did, They didn't care. Then Paul's wife, Jessica, started talking about a trip they were planning. We booked this amazing resort in Hawaii. It's right on the beach. I forced a smile. Oh, am I invited? The table went quiet. Jessica laughed awkwardly. Grace, it's a lot of walking, and travel's hard at your age. You'd just slow everyone down. I felt my face go hot. Tyler muttered, Besides, Grandma doesn't even like the beach. He'd never asked. I swallowed the lump in my throat and said nothing. Someone changed the subject. The conversation moved on, but I stayed stuck in that moment. After the cake, Paul pulled out a folder. He set it on the table in front of me like it was a dinner menu. Mom, we brought some paperwork. Just updates to your will and a POA, power of attorney. Makes everything easier. Diane jumped in. It's for your protection, Mom. You're getting older. We don't want you making mistakes. I opened the folder, scanned the first page. I'd like to read this first, I said. Paul waved it off. It's all standard. Just sign here and here. But I kept reading, and that's when I saw it. The paperwork would give them control over my bank accounts, my property. Immediately. Not when I died. Now. I set the pen down. I'll have my lawyer look at this first. Diane's face went hard. You don't trust your own kids? Paul leaned in. This is exactly why we're worried. You're getting paranoid. I folded my hands and looked at both of them. My voice was calm, steady. I'd like to make my speech now. They exchanged looks but didn't stop me. I stood up. My hands were trembling slightly, but not from fear. 70 years is a long time, I began. Long enough to learn who really shows up. Diane interrupted. Mom, don't get emotional. I kept going. Long enough to plan ahead. Paul shifted in his seat. What they didn't know was that I'd been meeting with my lawyer every week for 2 months. I'd been keeping a journal. Dates, conversations, requests for money, promises broken. 6 months ago, I'd made a very important decision about my house and savings. I'd even recorded some of their phone calls. Legally, with notices they ignored. And I'd recently discovered that Paul borrowed $15,000 from me 2 years ago for an emergency and never paid it back. When I brought it up, he told me I didn't remember right. They thought I was old and confused. I was just tired of fighting. That's when a woman stood up from a nearby table. Linda, my longtime friend and former coworker. She smiled at me and walked over. Diane hissed, Who even invited her? I did, I said. Linda handed me a manila envelope. Paul stood up. Mom, what is this? Let me finish. I opened the envelope and pulled out documents. Then a younger man in a suit walked in from the waiting area. Mr. Brennan, my attorney. He'd been there the whole time, just like we'd planned. Paul's face went white. You brought a lawyer to your birthday? I brought a witness, I said. Diane tried to laugh it off. Mom, you're being dramatic. We're your family. I looked her in the eyes. Then act like it. Tyler put his phone down. For the first time all night. Mr. Brennan set his briefcase on the table, calm and professional. The room went dead silent. Other diners were watching now. Paul tried to recover. Whatever you think we did, we can talk about this at home. No, I said. We're talking now. I unfolded the first document, a revised will, signed and notarized 1 week ago. I read it aloud. I'm leaving the house to the local women's shelter. They help single mothers get back on their feet. Something I had to do alone. Diane gasped. You can't do that. I already did. Paul's voice rose. That house is worth $400,000? You're throwing it away because of some grudge? No, I said. I'm giving it to people who actually need it. I held up a second paper, a ledger, every loan, Every favor. Every time I helped them financially. I read it aloud. Paul, $15,000 2022, never repaid. His jaw tightened. Diane, $8,000 for Jenna's braces 2019. You told me you'd pay me back when you got your bonus. You bought a car instead. She looked down. Tyler's college fund contribution, $12,000. I was thanked once. The family was silent, humiliated. Diane tried to recover. We were going to pay you back, you just forgot I existed unless you needed something. Then I pulled out my phone. I pressed play. Paul's voice filled the room. A recording from 3 months ago. Mom's losing it. We need to get control of her accounts before she does something stupid. Paul's face went red. That's out of context. The full recording is 4 minutes long, I said. Want me to play the rest? Mr. Brennan spoke for the first time. Mrs. Thompson has also set up a trust for any future grandchildren's education. Managed independently, you won't have access? I looked at my kids. My voice didn't shake. I spent 70 years being the woman everyone leaned on. I'm spending whatever time I have left being free. I placed the unsigned POA on the table. You're not getting this. Not now. Not ever. Diane started crying. Not sad tears. Angry ones. Paul stood up and stormed out. Tyler stayed seated. He looked ashamed. I sat back down. My hands were steady now. Linda squeezed my shoulder. And then the waiter came over with a slice of cake. The real one I'd ordered. With a single candle lit. I blew it out. The party ended quietly. Most of the family left without saying goodbye. Tyler lingered by the door. He looked at me, awkward and small. Grandma, I'm sorry. I nodded. Then show me, not with words. He left. Linda, Mr. Brennan, and I sat and talked for another hour. We laughed. We made plans. And I finally ate my chicken piccata. The waiter reheated it for me. It was perfect. A week later, Diane sent a long text. Half apology, half justification. Blaming stress. Blaming miscommunication. I didn't reply right away. I was too busy volunteering at the shelter that would soon own my house. I thought turning 70 would feel like an ending. Instead, it felt like the first honest beginning I'd had in years. For once, their silence didn't hurt me. It freed me. If you've ever had to stand up to family betrayal, hit subscribe and tell me your story. I never thought I'd have the strength to do this at 70, but I'm proof it's never too late to choose yourself. Where are you watching from? Drop it below. I always check. And if someone in your life has ever made you feel invisible, remember this. Your worth isn't defined by how they see you. Thanks for listening. You just gave me something my family didn't. Your time.